Good morning and welcome to my kitchen. It's game day here and I'm out to prepare a delicious cornbread recipe that we're going to serve with that vegetarian chili that we made yesterday. So the first thing you want to do is you want to wash your hands, put your hair covering on, and get started with your mise en place. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to preheat our oven to 425 degrees. 425 degrees is a hot oven, but the cook time in this recipe is relatively short, so you want to make sure that your oven is nice and hot. Then you're going to measure out your ingredients. So we're going to start with our dry ingredients, and that's going to be our cornmeal, followed by our 1 cup of flour, followed by our 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, and then our leavening agents, which is our baking powder and our salt. So remembering when measuring dry ingredients, you use a dry measuring cup, and you want to scoop into your measuring cup rather than sweeping it up, and then you're going to tap it and level it off with the back of a knife. So we have our dry ingredients already. Now our wet ingredients will be 1 cup of milk, and remembering we're using our liquid measuring cup. We're measuring, pouring it in, looking down to the meniscus and measuring to that meniscus. And then we have 1/2 cup of our oil. Now for the oil, you don't want to use an olive oil in this recipe because it has too strong of a flavor. I'm using a canola oil. You could use a corn oil, a safflower oil, any type of vegetable oil. And then the last thing is our egg. So we cracked our egg and we whisked it up. So when we talk about making cornbread or corn muffins, we are using the muffin method of mixing. Try to say that a couple times. The muffin method of mixing. So that simply means measuring your dry ingredients separately. So we'll start with that. So my 1 cup of my cornmeal, my 1 cup of my all-purpose flour, my 1/2 cup of my sugar, and then my 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and then salt. So let's talk about this 4 teaspoons. We know in our measurements that 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. So you could simply do 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon to get the proper measurement. So I'm going to put this in here. And then you want to take your whisk and you want to whisk that all up together. And you want to make sure that you are evenly distributing that salt and that baking powder so that your cornbread rises well. So we have our dry ingredients all mixed up. Then you want to take your wet ingredients and you want to mix them together. So the recipe tells us that we take our milk and we are going to add our whisked egg to it. And we're going to mix that up really nice. We're going to add our oil. Take the oil, add that up all nice, and you are simply going to take it and you are going to pour it into the dry ingredients. So the mixing method is mixing your dry ingredients first, mixing your wet ingredients separately, and then pouring the wet ingredients into your dry ingredients. So you're just going to mix it, pour it in there. And you're going to mix it, you're not going to overmix it, because if you overmix it, you are going to get what they call tunneling. And tunneling are those holes that you see in muffins and bread, so we don't want to do that. So we're going to mix it just until it's moistened. You can see this, maybe a couple more. And you will see some lumps, and you will see some dry parts of it, but you don't want too many dry parts of it. So I'm looking at this, 1, 2, I'm going to give 1 more. Don't want to overmix it. And I think I'm just about good. So you can see this, it's looking good. Next thing you want to do is you want to get your prepared pan. Now this is very important. I'm using a cast iron pan. A cast iron pan makes a fantastic cornbread, gives it a nice crusty exterior, and the interior is very soft and moist. So we're going to take that. I already sprayed this with some non-stick cooking spray, and I'm going to put it all in here, nice like this, getting it all out. And this is where you use your rubber spatula, because that enables you to get all of this delicious batter in to give you a nice high cake. And then we can spread it around here, right here, making sure that it's even in your pan. So once you have your batter in your prepared pan, it's time to go into the oven for about 20 minutes. Now remember the secret that when we're baking, unless otherwise indicated, we always put it on the middle rack. So I'm going to pop this in the oven and I will see you in 20 minutes with our final product. My timer went off and told me it's ready, but I opened my oven and you take a peek. It looks pretty good, but then we'll do a second test of taking a toothpick, inserting it, and if the toothpick comes out clean, you know it's ready to go. So my toothpick was clean, so wait till you see this. Look how great this looks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it on my cooling rack, allow it to cool, and when it's completely cool, I'm going to cut it into 8 to 16 slices depending on the size that you want. So I'm going to take this, serve that with the chili, and hope for the best. Go Birds!